Hello, everyone. Welcome to Manage the Doc's first in-person conclave, hosted by Hewlett Packard Enterprise in Bangalore and co-sponsored by Adobe. I'm Sandhya Ranganathan, Section Manager of Knowledge Management Compute in HPE, Bangalore, and co-founder of Manage the Docs. I'm very delighted to bring this special recording for you with a couple of distinguished leaders and very special people. So let me start by introducing Susan Blocker, Vice President of Compute Quality and Knowledge Management for the Compute Business Group at HPE. She has been with this company for 25 years and lives in Houston, USA. She has led the product line management teams across product portfolios and has a strong interest in leadership. She leads HPE's Quality Leadership Council, founder and executive sponsor of HPE Houston's Leadership Development Program, and an advisory executive for WISE, which is Women in Systems Engineering Council, and being a panelist for STEM activities. She was a board member of HPE's Program Manager Career Path, and for all these many achievements, she has awarded HPE's Women's Excellence Award. She's also married with two children. Welcome, Susan, to the recording and to Manage the Docs Conclave.
Thank you so much. Glad everyone's with us today and you're taking this wonderful time to invest in yourself. Thanks.
And most of you know Akash. Akash Dubey now works with Microsoft as Principal Content Manager. He has around 25 years of experience in the field of technical communication with many leading multinationals. As you know, he heads India's oldest and probably largest community of technical communicators, technical writers of India, and Manage the Docs has partnered with Twin as a leadership initiative. He lives in Chicago with his wife and daughters. Welcome, Akash, to this recording.
Thank you, Sandhya, for setting it up. Really looking forward to this event. As Susan said, thanks for joining this event and investing in your career.
Yes, it was a bit of a journey. I think along with me, Asha Mukashi, we met with Akash and started this initiative. We've had a number of video recordings, so Leadership Success Series, and we've had podcasts, and we have done mentoring programs, group mentoring, and now we're going to meet in person. So really excited about that. Just to kick you off this day in a nice way, we're just going to hope that you get some leadership tips out of a rapid fire session with Susan, Akash, and me. Right? So just a rapid fire, you can just enter the sentence and we'll get started. So first question, and we'll start with you, Susan. What was your first leadership role in life?
My first leadership role was when I was in school, in junior high and high school. I was actually one of the student drum majors that led the band in the marching and the event situations. So first time leading others. In a professional career situation, my first assignment was actually leading engineering technical program managers at Compaq Computers.
That's wonderful. Akash, what was your first leadership role?
Yeah, I think first leadership is when you take responsibility. So when I took responsibility of taking care of my parents when my dad retired, that was the first opportunity for me to lead the family overall and take care of them. In professional life, it was Interwoven. That was a company, Bay Area company, where I started working as a manager with a small team of great people.
For me, my first leadership role was in college. I was the literary club president. I was always interested in reading and writing. And professionally, I was a lead and then a manager at Trillium Digital Systems in Los Angeles, a startup at that point. Okay, so that was interesting. But what's more interesting is the next question. Looking back, right, what advice would you give to yourself in that first role you spoke about, Susan?
I would say to be flexible and not be too hard on yourself. Your first role, you're always learning, and you can't be too critical of yourself.
Yeah. Akash?
Susan is reading my mind. That's dangerous. So yes, I would say let go. People are too hard on themselves. They try to get things done the way they were doing it when they were not managers, when they were the best, probably professional in their team, in their group, and they want to replicate the same success as managers. You have to let go, let others do the job.
For me, it would actually be, I guess, don't be afraid to speak about your contributions and any accomplishments. I think I would always tend to be quiet and not speak about it. So yeah, that would be my advice to myself. Okay, and who was your first leadership mentor? I'm saying apart from parents, because people often give that. Your first leadership mentor, Susan?
So sticking with the whole band theme, I think my first leadership mentor was really my high school band instructor, because, a band or an orchestra, it kind of symbolizes the diversity of a team and really having to work together. You can't just be a flute section or a clarinet section. And that band instructor showed me how to, empower and encourage everyone to work well, to work individually to improve themselves. And so I think that would be, really my first mentor. And he really showed me how to persevere through difficult times.
Yeah, I think we often don't realize who our mentors are in life, and we're learning about leadership from so many people.
Right.
So I think it's good to, I think, just remain open to that and just get those lessons from everyone around.
Yep.
Akash?
Yeah. For me, I had to seek out a mentor, and that's one important area. Many a times you will not find an organic mentor. You have to find one. And it was my peer who had significant experience in the area of technical communication. He was a manager in Bay Area, Joe Munch. He's a great guy. And I wanted to just learn how he was doing and running his show, running his team, because he was doing a fantastic job. So that's how, I mean, that was my first, he was the first mentor.
For me, when I became a lead and then a manager, it was my VP at the time, Dave O'Brien. And, just watching how he interacted with people and dealt with situations, I mean, that was great learning for me. So I think leadership, you learn a lot just from other people. I think mentoring is the best way to learn, at least, I think, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So if you remember something that they said, what was something that they said that still resonates with you, Susan?
Being on time, I think, is one of those things that some people, really, I think being on time is important for yourself, and it's really important for others, and it sets the tone. And then just working as a team, putting aside, your own desires to shine. We all want to do well, and that's important, but really, working as a team. I mean, that's what leadership's all about. It's influencing others to take action. And usually it's in, a combined situation. And so being on time, working as a team, and in a band, which was my example, you have to, that's the only way it works.
Right. Great. Akash?
Yeah. So something that he said, which is still etched in my memory. So that was timeless advice he gave. He said, you can't say no easily. You have to say no, but you can't say no in all situations. The best thing to do is don't say no. Give people options. That way you've not said no, but at the same time, it's easier to negotiate.
Yeah. So for me, I think the first day as a manager, I actually had to let someone go. So it was obviously something situation I inherited, and that was really hard on me. So I think a tip that he gave, apart from the usual thing which they say about, read the script and all of those, was, just be a good human being. And that's something which I've now forgotten, as a manager or leader. Whatever you do in life, not to forget that you are a human being and just be nice to people and be good. So to extend on that, is there a leadership value or belief that you will not compromise on? I think we learn a lot of values as part of companies, corporate values, and we have our own values. And as managers, we often have to compromise, balance things. But is there something that you will not compromise, Susan?
It's always important to me to be honest and develop trust with people. I mean, I think in all situations, that's really, what I feel like I can't compromise. My inner voice tells me that I can't do that, whether that's personal, professional, in all my actions. So honesty and, which leads to trust.
Wonderful. Akash?
Yeah. So it's hard to put a finger on one value, but I would say that integrity is very important.
Mhm.
And being human, as you were mentioning, Sandhya, that is so true and so important. That's what builds connect. That's what builds trust.
I think for me, it is being fair. I think being fair to people. I think that's something. Okay. And this is just maybe something which might help other people. Is there a morning ritual that you always do that helps you set up well for the day? Susan?
Yeah, a lot of people have a lot of morning rituals. I, actually don't so much. I do check my calendar first thing in the morning, and actually I start that the night before. One of the things that I wind down the night before is to kind of, put my mind at ease that I've prepared and those sorts of things. That just helps me rest. And so when I get back up in the morning, I check my calendar. I keep reminders on my calendar. So that's really kind of my routine, other than just, the normal getting ready for the day kinds of things.
Well, that's great for time management, I think, just getting
Mhm.
control of your schedule.
Mhm.
Akash?
Yeah. For me, my wife and I are old school. In India, it will not be considered old school, but here it is. That is reading newspaper. So we sit together over a cup of tea and read newspaper. We have to do that for even if it is for 10 minutes. Today, I am not able to do it, but I did it at least for 2 minutes and then came here. So that's very important. It
Yeah.
just helps us bond as well as start the day well.
Yeah. And for me, it's actually the cup of chai or tea, as you spoke about, Akash. I will not compromise on that as well. Just in the morning, I'll have my cup of tea. I need to linger, for the 5-10 minutes. I don't want to be rushed. And that gives me, I think, the space and the balance, even if it's all chaotic or it's going to be a very hectic day. Yeah. Okay. We all hear a lot of good advice and good tips. And even in this session, we've been hearing some lots of good tips. But what's the worst advice that you've heard on leadership, Susan?
The worst advice. Probably if you want it done, do it yourself. I think
Yeah.
for a leader, that is not very good advice. It kind of goes against, really what a leader's supposed to do, which is interact with others. So I say, the worst advice, if you want it done yourself, do it yourself. Don't do that.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Akash?
So this came from a person that Sandhya you will know, but I will not mention it here. But but the advice was in the company where you will know who it is. We are not in HR. That was because I tried to build somebody's career. That person wanted to move out of my team into some other role, and I was supportive of that. But my boss was not. He said, "We are not in HR."
Yes. For me also, and this is again someone you would know, Akash, but not in a company, was actually destroy the competition. It's like, what's that all about? Because it's the world is a big place. We have a long life. Putting somebody down or an organization down, you can't build on that way. You always need to collaborate with people, even people you like or don't like, or organizations as well. So yeah. It's surprising though. I mean, that's heard in a lot of places, in a lot of companies, right? Sales and marketing. Right? Okay. So I think we've all done hiring of leaders. So what is the most important trait, the key one that you look out for when hiring a new leader into your team? Susan?
I look for individuals who can be empathetic, because empathetic people usually have strong situational awareness and observation skills. And I think that's really important for a leader to be able to observe and create that connection, and being aware of how to handle things differently based on the situation. And so I think those are things that can be learned and can be honed and developed. But I think it starts, at least from my perspective, starts with an individual who's empathetic, because they're more open to developing those skills that I think are important. So I'd say empathy.
Empathy. That's great. Akash?
Yeah, one of my managers, and he was a great manager in the same company, he mentioned hire for attitude, train for skills. And that stuck to me. That when you interview the person, the warmth of that person comes across, and the kind of the way he or she is approaching a problem or the discussion, that makes a huge difference for me. So that's what I look for.
Yeah, I agree with I think both of what you said, but I think just to add to that, maybe cultural fit. I've often seen leaders who seem to be great, ticked all the boxes, but maybe not just right for this company. Every company has a certain culture, and while of course a lot of big companies are similar, but somebody coming from a very different kind of a background sometimes doesn't fit, and that often, doesn't help them be successful in this environment.
Right.
Yeah. And the last couple of questions is kind of going to lead us into our next longer discussion is, okay, what is one quality that you found that is often lacking among today's leaders? In today's session, we have a lot of people who are managers and leaders, but some who are aspiring to be leaders. So what is something that you found that is lacking, Susan?
I just think because of how our work environment has changed, how our world environment has changed, that it's more difficult for leaders to really get to know their team members because teams are more remote, they're larger matrix organizations, and so there's not a lot of individual one-on-one time. And even when it is, sometimes it's on a call. Cynthia, you and I have had to develop,
Yes.
our relationship 100% remote over the last few years. And so I think, the I don't know if it's a quality, but it's an aspect that I think has made it more difficult for leaders today is just the ability to truly get to know people. When we were living in smaller communities, and had smaller circles, you could really build those bonds and be there for each other and work together as a team a lot more strongly than we have today. So I think that uh, aspect is more difficult. And so I think that's one quality is just being able to, truly connect with someone because of how our working, arrangements are these days.
Yeah. How about you, Akash?
Yeah. So I don't know whether it is lacking, but what they can hone is further is to a lot of people are always attracted towards new and shiny things. And that's what people think is the future. We should be really doing that. And they come up with great ideas around it. But I think the plain, boring, something that pays for your lights and your air conditioning and for everything else is equally important. How do you operationalize that and give equal value to that? That's very important and not always run towards something shiny.
Mhm. For me, I would say probably, I mean, more recently, I think patience. I think it's just with every generation, right? They want to kind of keep getting there faster, doing faster, and just something we're talking about is, we need skills, we need experience to build up, particularly for leadership, and they just sometimes don't have the patience, I think. Yeah. And finally, this is a question which I think Akash and I have been talking for a while, and we'll continue discussing after this session as well. Is you have people who are light, but they want to be really bright, shining bright. So, what is the one attribute that will take them from light to shining bright, Susan?
I think being able to have a positive mindset is really something that if you want to evolve and grow, you have to think about things in the right way when they occur so that you don't knock yourself down. We talked about not being your own critic. So looking at things in a positive mindset, I think is really important. And so keeping your mind and your attitude focused on that is the best thing that I've seen.
Wonderful. Yeah. Akash?
So I'm very passionate about this topic, and there's just not one thing. There are so many things. But let me just maybe name a few to start with, and not sort of hog the whole question. One is obviously not just focus on an idea, but also focus on how are you going to execute that idea. Execution is equally important. It's idea is cheap, but then can you get it done? That's what is important. So developing that mindset and operationalizing it, understanding the nuances. So that is one part. The second one is out of many others. Just the second one that I want to mention is this: having business focus. Many a times it seems like, hey, this is the right thing to do. Is what is more important. And talking to more people who are on the ground when it comes to customers, understanding that what will bring more money or revenue to the company. If you understand and align with that, you will be able to make better decisions. That's what I feel.
Yeah, and I think you have taken some sessions on this topic as well. I remember, Akash. Yes. And for me, I would say flexibility. I think to goes along with the positive mindset and the other things. There's a lot that you have to deal with in a career, in life, and if you're not flexible, I think it's just going to either get you down or keep you stuck, in that place.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also called being resilient.
Yes, true, absolutely. Yep. And there's a big book about that as well.
Yep.
Okay, that was a wonderful session. It was not so much rapid fire, but I think we got a lot of great tips out of it. It's already pumped me up a bit, so I hope it has pumped all of you as well. And have a great day of acquiring a lot of knowledge and networking with everybody else. Thank you from Susan, Akash, and me. Bye for now.
Thank you, and thanks everyone.